Welcome back to the Attack the Rack podcast. Today in the Get to 2 Media Studios, we have a special guest. His name is Realtor Ryan. He is a real estate agent. He's going to talk to us about some real estate stuff, but also we're going to talk about a crazy deal he made for a Serena Williams card. The purchaser of that card was Serena Williams herself. We're also going to talk about his days on the basketball court. Also want to give you a heads up. Wednesday, we're going to be having a special episode of the Attack the Rack podcast. Peter Hunsberger will be back with us, and we are going to be talking about the Super Bowl. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Attack the Rack podcast. I am your host, Kurt Van Hecken, and you are tuning in to the number one rated podcast on the planet by the people that rated it number one. The Attack the Rack podcast, as always, is brought to you by Get to 2 Media. Before we get into this today, I first need to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's program. The sponsor today is Realtor Ryan. Realtor Ryan has been a real estate agent for over 20 years and is ready to help you with all your real estate questions and needs. Realtor Ryan has helped me in my process of learning about real estate, and he can help you too. If you have any questions in real estate, ring Realtor Ryan. And what a coincidence. Today on the program, we have Realtor Ryan. All right, and welcome back to the Attack the Rack podcast. Today, as always, we have a very special guest. His name is Ryan Kruitoff, a longtime friend, similar to the guests I've had on the program so far, someone I go way back with. In fact, I might go, besides, some, family members I've had on the program, I might go farther back with you than anyone else.
Okay.
Because we were neighbors when I was born.
Right.
We both lived in the borough of Holland, Michigan called Maplewood.
Yep.
I lived on 34th Street. You lived on 35th Street until I was 4. That was a great area to live in, wasn't it?
No, it was. A lot of great memories in the Maplewood there, across from the ballpark.
Yeah.
So you were 4 when you moved?
4 when I moved, yep.
Okay, and I think you're a couple years older than me.
1 year older than you.
1 year, okay. So I was like 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I don't even know how I even remember that house or the fact that you were my neighbor, but for some reason, I've always remembered that.
Yeah, no, I remember you picking on me a little bit. Do you remember that?
Was I a bully?
Well, there was a neighbor, Mark.
Yep.
You and him,
he was next to me.
You guys kind of ganged up on me one day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
wow.
But I was like 2 or 3 years old, right? So
yeah.
If you're 4 and I'm 2, there's kind of a big difference there, right?
Wow.
So, anyways, yeah, I remember.
One thing that I've never been called is a bully. It's almost kind of cool. Yeah. But I do apologize.
No, it's funny that we're actually sitting here today. So, hey, always be nice to your neighbor because you never know if you're going to be on a podcast someday.
Absolutely.
So it's cool that we're sitting here, yeah.
Oh, that's great. And then, one thing, you're, certainly known for in the mid to late 90s, you were quite a basketball player at Holland Christian High School here in West Michigan. Definitely known for your ability to score the basketball. And we can get into that here in a moment. But was there any other sports that you played as a kid, or was it strictly basketball?
When I was super young, I tried a few different things, but pretty quickly I realized I just wanted to put my focuses on basketball. Kind of an all or nothing type of person. Okay. So I just realized, hey, I'm going to put all my time into this and just try to become as good as I could.
All right. Yep. And then you played, like I said, at Holland Christian, class of 99.
99, yep.
So you were still there when the legend Mickey Phelps was coaching at Holland Christian.
Mickey Phelps. Ton of respect for the guy. Great coach. And when I was young, I was always looking forward to playing for him. I had a great experience. Him and I didn't really see eye to eye.
Sure. Happens all the time with players and coaches.
Yeah, right, with your coaching stuff. It was just kind of his way or the highway.
Sure.
Where I felt my JV coach was more like my friend and was more willing to be open to what I had to say. Where Mickey was like, hey, this is what I say. And so I guess we didn't always see eye to eye, but tons of respect for the guy.
Sure.
Yeah, appreciate him.
And you also played in, your home court was the Civic Center in Holland, Michigan.
Yep.
Iconic basketball gym in the state of Michigan.
Yes. Now it's been updated. It's super nice, right? But we played in it back in the day when it was kind of dungy.
Right.
So yeah, it was cool because the way that the court stood is that people sat right on like the sidelines.
Yeah.
So it was just an awesome environment. Yes.
Yeah, and I think we were fortunate to play. Like, I went to Holland High School. You went to Holland Christian High School. Certainly, Holland High School has also one of the most iconic gyms in the state of Michigan, the Dutch Dome. We were fortunate enough to play in some really nice. Well, and that's the thing; they weren't like super nice; they're just very unique, great atmospheres.
Yep.
Another one, and I know you. If you were, did you ever play in the pit at Grand Haven? Not as a varsity player, because by then they had their new gym. But when you were, did you guys play Grand Haven?
Yeah, we did play Grand Haven.
So when you were a freshman or JV, you might have played in the pit.
Is that what it was called?
Oh, incredible atmosphere! Just a small box gym, packed 2,500 people into this, and right on top of the floor. Incredible atmosphere.
Yeah. The sideline being right where people sit, right? So literally, when you're out of bounds, people were touching you.
Oh yeah.
It was just the environment. We had 1,000 people at our games or whatever, and it was a fun atmosphere that everyone seemed to come to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And you played on you especially your junior year. You guys had quite a team. Your team was loaded that year. I remember you guys being ranked as high as number 2 in the state.
Yep.
Some great players on that team. Kevin Kuhlman, Brad Holst, who, by the way, his son now is a freshman playing for Holland High School on the varsity as a freshman.
Is he really? Okay,
yep,
I didn't know Holst. That. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I know Nate Carson. I think his kid's playing on the Holland Christian team time new. So yeah, it's kind of neat that the kids are starting to play now of all our.
Yeah, definitely. No, Holland has that too. Joe Davilar, he's a Holland basketball legend. His son, and Dan Van Hecken, his oldest, just graduated last year, but he's got his 2 youngest are playing varsity for Holland right now.
That's awesome.
It is kind of cool. It also makes you feel old, though.
It does. It's amazing how quick the years have gone by,
but yeah, back to that your junior season. You guys were loaded. What, as a junior on a team loaded with some really good seniors, what was your role?
Yeah, so I was the 6th man. I was the first guy off the bench.
Yep.
I started one game my junior year. That was fun to play with those guys, but it was exciting, because we just saw that this team was aligning from when we were younger, and we just anticipated, hey, once we get there, we're going to be good, and we were good. We were, I think, we were ranked 2nd in the state, I think, for a while there. So
yeah, for sure. Yep. And speaking of cool places that we got to play at, we played. I was a senior, you were a junior. I was at Holland High. You were obviously at Holland Christian. We played each other at the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids.
That's right.
Phenomenal arena, 13,000 seats. I think we actually had 5,000 people at that game. And right there in downtown Grand Rapids, before a Grand Rapids Hoops game, the old CBA team, that Grand Rapids Hoops.
Okay.
I don't know how much you remember.
No, I don't remember. It was before the Hoops game, though?
Yeah.
So we maybe had some of their fans that came in between the games.
Yeah.
So.
But no, I mean, I don't know. We had that lower bowl packed.
Yeah.
And obviously it was a huge rivalry. Still is a huge rivalry. Both programs aren't quite what they were back in the 90s as of now, but huge rivalry back then.
It was so much fun. Yeah. You just kind of felt like a big shot, or a big college player or
Yeah.
pro player, just for a little while playing on that court. It was
Yeah.
it was special. It was fun. Yeah.
And I actually, I was, even as a senior, bottom of the bench guy, but like I said, you guys were really, really good. You guys took it to us. I think we hung pretty tough with you guys, as good as you were.
Yeah.
You guys beat us by about 10.
Okay.
Which for us,
that's
I mean,
not bad.
that wasn't bad. We were a solid team, but
yeah,
like, again, you guys were ranked second in the state. But it was, we're down by 10, 11, 12, something like that. There's 30 seconds to go. And I think our coach, the legendary Mark Worley, was like, you know what? It's still 10, 12 points, but very unlikely. I'm going to let some of these bottom guys go in for 30 seconds just to get that experience. And
yeah,
it was, for me, as someone who rarely got any playing time, probably the coolest experience I had. I actually did knock down a 15-foot jumper, so that's kind of the highlight of my high school.
And you have a great memory.
Yeah.
Right? Even though you didn't play much, great memories for the. Sometimes it seems like people today, they only want to do something unless they can be the star,
right?
Or they can get a lot of playing time.
Yeah.
So for you, the memories that you got out of you didn't play made it worth it for you.
Yeah, and that's funny you bring that up, because I went out to dinner with Coach Steve Windemaller after the Holland game last Friday night, and we were kind of talking about the state of high school basketball today, and it's not quite what it goes up and down right now, right? It goes up and down, and I think, how do I put this nicely? I think I would have had a bigger role playing in today's era than I did when I played.
Okay.
But what I was, and we were kind of talking about that, but what I told, Coach Windemaller is, he was an assistant coach for Holland High when I played. And I even with a little bit of playing time I had, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. Just, I love being a part of, the team, and the day in, day out grind with this group of 12, 15 guys. I wouldn't trade that.
Right. No, I'm glad you talked about that, because I just think, with social media and everything today, like, everybody wants to be the best. And you know what I'm saying? And it's
Absolutely.
like, and people, they take it maybe more serious than what they need to. I mean, I remember when I was young, like, everything revolved around basketballs my entire life. And I just wish I maybe focused on having a little bit more fun.
Sure.
Than, and so I always try to encourage younger players today, like, hey, are you having fun? And focus on the fun. Because honestly, like, now none of us, like, 20 years later, we have got such great memories, and we don't really care necessarily what the score was or who won. It's just the memories and the relationship we've built through sports through the years is really where the value is, right?
Right, and absolutely. So, and you mentioned you made the decision, hey, I'm just going to play basketball.
Yep.
But I think, and that was a great decision for you. It worked out well. But I think in this day and age, too many kids decide to go that route, maybe for the wrong reasons, thinking, I'm going to do this because this is going to get me a college scholarship.
Totally, right.
And the reality is, it's very unlikely that that's going to happen.
Yeah, and maybe the parents put some pressure on them to be like, hey, and
and speaking of just strictly having fun, that's where I would encourage kids to play multiple sports. And this has been a topic on a handful of the podcasts we've had so far, is encouraging kids to be multi-sport athletes.
100%. Yeah. I sang in choir, and I got involved in a lot of things outside of sports.
There you go.
But just have fun. And honestly, I mean, I think everybody realizes, hey, we're not going to necessarily make money from this. So just have fun. And the advice I would give my kids when they're a little older is play tons of different sports, and don't put so much pressure on yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, again, junior year, you guys were really, really good. How did that season play out for you guys?
Yeah, how did it play out? We felt confident that we we had a chance that year, right? And we got a bunch of momentum. We won districts, we won regional, and then it was the quarterfinals that we had to play Coopersville, right?
Yep.
At Grand Valley, and we were up in the fourth quarter, and it looked like we were going to be going on to the semifinals, right? It was exciting, and then TJ Meerman, who played at Coopersville, we were playing Coopersville, he got hot.
Okay.
And he scored 10, 15 points in literally the last couple minutes.
Oh wow!
And took us out, and it still honestly hurts to this day.
Yeah.
And I hope to tell TJ that someday. I know he's coaching, and
he's
just say, hey, you ripped our hearts out, man.
No, he's having a ton of success now as the head coach over at Catholic Central.
Yeah.
Got a phenomenal program going there.
Yeah, I think they've won state, or they've been there a couple times.
They've been there. I don't know if can't remember if they won it a couple years ago. But yeah, the last 3 or 4 years they've been right there.
Yep. And he went to Central Michigan, and I think there's a chance that maybe that game boosted him to be.
I wouldn't
ask him, but
yeah, very very well.
It put him on the map, honestly. Yeah. And then I don't, so ripped our hearts out, man. Yeah. Junior year, yeah. So,
well, hey, and one other thing too that was cool about Holland Christian back in the '90s is you guys would play you played Detroit Country Day every year. 1 year at their place, 1 year.
Yep.
And it kind of alternated, back and forth between home and away.
Yep.
And that was when, the Detroit Country Day was one of the best basketball programs in the United States of America.
Yep. Chris Webber played there. Shane Battier played there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you guys play them you played them probably twice then? Once at their place, once a year?
Yes. Well, we played them once a year.
Yeah.
And then it went every other year, home, away.
Yes.
Home, away.
Yep. So
Mickey Phelps was good friends with the coach.
Oh, okay.
And because we weren't in a conference, we were Mickey was able to pick the schedule, and because he was friends, that was the connection. Because normally people wouldn't play Country Day unless you were really good. Yeah. So my junior year, they played at the Civic Center, and I remember guarding Chris Webber's brother, David Webber, and they kicked our butts. They came in, and I think we ended up losing by maybe 10, 15 points. And they just a different level of athlete those guys were. David Webber, right? He was just, he looked like a 30-year-old guy with his huge muscles. So, it was a great memory. And then we went and played Country Day my senior year, and it was cool because Isaiah Thomas showed up at the gym, and we all got a chance to meet him. But it was a great memory, right?
That's funny bringing that up. I at one point in my coaching career, I coached at Granville High School, and our head coach Ryan Klingler was really good friends with the Detroit Country Day coach at that time. This is just a couple, 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Okay.
Mark Bray.
Okay.
They were teammates at Hope College.
Yep.
And we set up a home and home where we played. We actually played them at the Civic Center. It was going to kind of be just because of the connection that Mark and Bray and Ryan Klingler had with Hope College. Former Hope College players wanted to play in their old gym.
Have
So we played them at the Civic Center. Very random, but
you should. Have you interviewed Klingler yet?
Yeah. Yep. I did.
Okay.
Yeah, but I got to get him back on because there's so much more to dive into with that guy.
Yeah.
And then the following year we went to their place and played. And Barry Sanders was there.
Really?
His son was on the JV team, so that was really cool. All our kids were getting a picture taken with him. And,
dude, Barry's a legend.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned, your senior year a little bit.
Yep.
How'd your senior year go? Obviously, we've been focusing on this great team you played.
Yeah, I think we were just above 500.
Okay.
Yeah, it was mainly filled with, juniors.
Yep.
So we were still just kind of trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But it was nice because I got to kind of be one of the leaders on the team, be a mentor to some of these young kids. Got to play all the time.
Right.
And I was kind of the first option for scoring.
No, I think definitely one thing that anyone that remembers that era of basketball and remembers Ryan Kruitoff, you were a scorer.
Close. Yeah, I just I just always was, get open, take a shot, And so I mean, scoring was my main focus. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. So, you were a very solid high school basketball player. Did you have any? I mean, certainly you could have played in college somewhere. Did you have any desire to play college basketball?
I did. So I there were two schools I was considering: Trinity Christian or Grand Valley State University. And I wanted to go into the art program, graphic design program. So I went to Trinity, and looking back on it now, I would have gone and actually played at Trinity, right? I would have had the opportunity to play with Kevin Kuhlman. That would have been fun. They had a great team. They just had like no graphic design program. It was literally like a trailer in the back. So at the time, I just felt like, well, hey, they got nothing for the arts. But I would have been fun. But I ended up playing in the summer league with Grand Valley. And I was planning on playing on the Grand Valley's team, right? And then I just realized the level of commitment. Yeah. I mean, I'm an all or nothing, right? If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And I just realized, hey, the level I was going to have to commit at, I just wasn't willing to do that.
Sure.
And so I just, focused on being entrepreneurial, real estate, and other things like that. So I don't miss not playing with Grand Valley, but I go back, I would have played with Kevin Kuhlman at Trinity Christian.
Okay,
so
sure.
Never played college.
Yeah.
And probably regretted it a little bit, but hey, that was my story.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned real estate, which is something you got into at a young age. We'll get into that here in a minute. But as we were prepping for this, you told me about a Serena Williams card that you you mentioned being an entrepreneur. Yeah, one thing that we kind of talked about as we were prepping for this is the art of buying and selling. And this Serena Williams card, this is a crazy story.
Yeah. So being an entrepreneur, you're always looking for new avenues, right? So during the pandemic, around when Kobe passed, right? People, they couldn't go anywhere. They're just sitting at home, right? And so all of us people, or a lot of us, who collected sports cards as a kid, got back into it. And it became really, really popular. A lot of people listening to this probably, got back into sports cards with maybe one of their kids. So anyways, I'm sitting at home. I can't show homes. I'm just stuck in front of a computer, right? So I started getting back into sports cards. Anyways, to make a long story short, I end up buying a set of tennis cards, right? Like I saw that the sports, it first got popular with basketball and then it kind of went up, right? And so I thought, well, maybe tennis will become popular, right? So I bought this set of tennis cards. There was it was the great Serena, Federer, Sampras, right? It was like 15 cards, and I paid, it's like $600 for it. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is a lot for these tennis cards. And so during this whole process, people started getting into grading cards, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of passionate, so I kind of want to, build the story a little bit here. So people would send their cards in to get graded, and they put a numeric value on them, and then that would kind of determine, people wanted the ones that were Gem Mint 10, right? So I sent this set in, and it got so many people were doing this that it took a year for these cards to come back, right? So when I sent them in, they weren't worth anything. But then when I got them back, I looked at one of these cards had sold for like $15,000. One of these Serena Williams cards. Wow. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? Yeah. I didn't check, right? And so I thought, well, hey, if I can get 15, I paid 600. That's a great return. So I threw it up on eBay, right? And I was immediately contacted by this gentleman, right?
Okay.
And this is important. So I did a Google search on his name, and I saw him, this guy who contacted me, with Serena Williams' husband at the National Card Show.
Okay.
Right? So I had heard at the National that Serena Williams was buying up her cards and that she was paying top dollar, and that's why the prices were going up.
Okay.
So I realized, hey, I might get contacted by Serena's husband. And it's so crazy, right? So when he messaged me, I said, hey, Serena's husband, you're connected to him, right? And he said, yeah. I'm like, let's talk on the phone. Let's try to put a deal together. So I was able to talk to him. There wasn't, it was just straight up front. I knew who he was.
Yeah.
There wasn't like low ball, right? So I was like, hey, here are the comps. I know that you guys paid, 15, 20,000. So I made him an offer and I said, hey, I'll throw in the Federer, the Rafa Nadal.
Okay.
And we made a deal to buy the Serena card with these other cards for $40,000.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was super exciting, man.
Real.
Yeah. So
Serena Williams literally has the card.
She has the card. Yeah. I said to him, and she was buying up all of her cards because there was only like 20 of these cards.
Wow.
And so they wanted all of them. But here's the thing is that card I sold them, they bought from somebody else like a couple months later for $100,000.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right. So like I went from right. So I literally had $20 into this card.
Yeah.
I mean, I still got a good return on investment, but I'm kind of kicking myself because it's like, I mean, I could have bought a small house with this card had it hung on, but
unbelievable.
Yeah. So anyways, the story is just fun, right?
Yeah.
So anyways,
any other things that you're into as far as like buying and selling and
what am I not into? I guess is more the thing. So, one of my biggest hobbies is I buy and and trade and collect Herman Miller furniture.
Okay.
So the design part of me, likes that. Yeah. So, always buying and selling loungers, anything Herman Miller. Okay. I've got a big collection of that and enjoy that. So
nice. And that's successful for you?
Yeah. We've figured out how to make money with it. So it's been good. Yeah. So.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will come right back with more of the Attack the Rack podcast. And we are back. All right, so your main gig is real estate. Yeah. How did you decide, hey, I want to pursue real estate? What was that process like, and how old were you?
Yeah, I had a local realtor who's been in it forever reach out to me at a Myers. He ran into me. I think I was probably like 17, 18 years old. And he just said, hey, man, you'd be good at real estate. And so when I went to college for like a year, I'm just like, hey, this college thing is not really my thing. So I reached out to him. At probably like 19, and I was like, hey man, you said I'd be good at this. Would you help me? And so I got licensed at like 20. Wow. Is when I got started in it. Yep.
Okay. And what was the process like back then to get your real estate license?
Yeah. So, I mean, it really wasn't that difficult as far as the amount of time and money you had to put into it. Like you had to do a 40-hour class, and then you took a state test. And then you were licensed, and you just had to decide what broker you had to work for. So I believe it's pretty similar. I think it's still a 40-hour class.
Yeah,
you did it.
Yeah. No, that sounds like it hasn't changed at all.
I don't think it's changed much. No. So
all right, and then how was it getting into it? How did that first year go? How long did it take for you to kind of because it's not easy to just start from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, like most things in life, they don't turn out the way you expect, right? So, I'm young thinking, hey, I'm going to be very successful. And, I'm going to just jump into it like I do most things. And it didn't turn out the way I wanted, right? So that guy who got me in, I joined his team.
Okay.
Terry Brinks. Some of you guys know of him. So he took me on his team and he fired me. Right?
The guy that got you into it.
Yeah, I was on his team for like 6 months. He fired me, and I was devastated. And it's funny though because him and I are really good friends today, and we own some rental properties together. And so, it's just funny how things play out, right? So I just, I was young, not a lot of people buying properties at that age. So I went to some different teams. I actually moved to the Detroit area and was on a top producing agents team over there for 4 years and kind of learned it and then moved back. So it's been a journey, but it's been worth it, and it's been a fun one. And I've been at it for over 20 years now.
Yeah, and so over those 20 years, there's been some ups and downs.
Yeah, very much. I mean, the market's definitely been up and down, right? So when I moved to the other side of the state, the Plymouth area in Detroit, it was like 2006. So, 2008, it was a storm, man. People losing homes.
Yeah.
I mean, people who had equity in their homes for 20 years, losing their homes. So it was a journey. But like in anything, there's ups and downs. So.
Yeah. So the 2008, yeah, that was quite crazy.
Yeah.
We kind of went through would you say that we kind of went through something similar, or we currently are going through something similar now, kind of post COVID? Well, before we get into that, what was real estate like during the pandemic?
Yeah, pandemic changed things a lot. It was wild. I mean, we were not able to actually show homes for a while. So, I mean, we were getting creative, trying to do virtual tours. I mean, luckily that time frame didn't last super long, but it definitely changed things. I mean, realtors would work in the office, and now everybody seems to work home now. So, but
yeah, I think that's kind of become a thing in a lot of industries where people realized I can run. My business can be run with people working from home, and why am I going to spend money leasing office space when I can have my employees, work from home? Now kind of, but wasn't the market still like on fire during COVID, or just kind of after?
Well, there was still a lot of demand.
Yeah.
People wanted homes, and people just didn't want to sell because they didn't want people coming into their house.
Okay.
Maybe spreading the germ. So, I mean, the demand was more and more. It was growing more and more and getting higher, and people just didn't want to sell.
Okay.
So it just created home prices to go through the roof.
Sure.
Right. I mean, it just got crazy because the demand was way higher than the supply.
Right.
Yep. And we're seeing that change a little bit now.
But. Yeah, I was just going to say, what's the market like currently?
Yeah, outside of it just being cold outside, and people don't want to look at homes while it's cold. A lot of people are just on the fence. A lot of people are just waiting to see where interest rates are gonna end up. Where everybody just kind of thinks there's talk about, hey, 2008 may happen again. We're going to get deals. So a lot of buyers don't want to buy unless they have to, because they're thinking that the deals are going to come. But the reality is that the demand is still really, really high, and the supply is low. So I don't anticipate there'll be another 2008. I mean, everything's slowed down a little bit right now, but I anticipate that with the interest rates coming back down, and with the spring there'll be more supply, and it'll level off. I think 2023 will be more of a level year.
Okay.
Prices won't go way down, they won't go up. It's just kind of a level year. So,
right. So
obviously a good year to buy.
So obviously you're still doing this 20 years later. You must love it.
I do.
You must have some success.
Yeah, no, I've had some success. I mean, I just love it, and it's just trial and error. Keep going, right? I mean, that's as long as you don't give up. So yeah, no, I've had some success. I mean, we've helped a few hundred families buy and sell throughout the years. Sold over $100 million worth of real estate.
Wow.
Yeah. So from a financial standpoint, it's been great, but we've helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
And made a lot of people happy with their decisions to buy and sell.
Nice.
Yep.
All right, and I will put your contact info in the description of the video here, podcast here.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, whatever's easiest for you. Give me a call. Ring Realtor Ryan. It's as simple as that. If you want to actually have a conversation, talk, just call me directly. I make myself very available. And obviously reach out to me on social media. If you Google search, Realtor Ryan, it comes up all over the place.
Okay.
I've got a lot of great reviews. You can do a little bit of research on me before you reach out, but just reach out. And, I work with my dad. He's helped me for 10 years.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. That's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's quite a story in itself. But yeah, I'm the sales guy. He's the detail guy. Okay. So we've helped just a ton of people, and we're not high pressure, right? Yeah. Whether your plan is to do something now or in the future, we just want to have a conversation and decide, hey, what's best for you.
Sure.
And we're constantly working with 20, 30 people at a time at different stages in the buying selling process. So we'd love to talk to you about that if you have some real estate questions. So.
Sure. Hey, I have a real estate question.
Sure.
One thing, if I'm selling my home, I'm going to end up having to pay a commission to the agent that I have hired to sell my home. I'm also going to have to pay a commission to the agent representing the person buying my home.
Yes. Yep.
I think a common question people have is, well, why would I go that route when I could sell it without the realtors and not have to pay the commission?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, Kurt, I've heard that many times.
I bet you have. I bet you have.
So what's my answer to that? I mean, obviously the most important thing is how much you're putting in your pocket, right? So I try to encourage people, hey, don't get hung up on all the fees. You usually get what you pay for. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, people, they're going to work with a realtor because it's free, right? So if you're serious about buying or selling, you're going to go hire somebody like me to do all the work for you, right?
Yes.
Why would you do that? Because it's free, right? So most of the serious buyers, are going to work with a realtor, right? So if you're trying to sell for sale by owner, most people that are going to inquire are people who, know you're not working with a realtor, so they're going to try to get a deal, or they're going to lowball. They're just kind of tire kickers, right? So statistically, it's like 80, 90% of for sale by owners will actually end up going with a realtor because bottom line, the realtor is going to put more money in the pocket, right? So, my thing is hey, I'm going to get my fees covered for by ultimately getting you a higher price in your pocket. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I just, the reason I brought that up is because I think there's a very common misconception out there of like, well, I can just do this myself and avoid having to pay the fees. But in reality, hooking up with a realtor is going to end up making you more money because they're going to get more money for your home.
Right.
You're not going to have to deal with the stress of all the behind the scenes stuff.
And you probably can sell it on your own, right? There still is enough of demand that you can probably do it. But I mean, unless you really kind of know the market,
right?
I mean, how are you going to know if it's a good offer or not,
exactly,
right? So,
exactly.
Yeah. So one of the big reasons why we're here today, obviously, and reconnected through all these years, is that, you've kind of gone down the real estate journey yourself a little bit, right? Where are you at on your journey?
Yeah. So no, you're absolutely right. The reason that we kind of reconnected a few years ago is because of my interest in real estate, wanting to get into real estate, and you're, I think, the first person I contacted to get some advice on it. I have that entrepreneurial spirit.
You sure do.
Definitely would, want to or have this desire to be my own boss and have my own business. And, one thing I realized a few years ago is like real estate is perfect for that. And, that's why I, reached out to you am I right here? Is this is my vision of what I believe real estate to be accurate? And, sure enough, meeting with you, met with a couple other people I know that are in real estate, and sure enough, that, it kind of lined up with, what I wanted to do. And I went through the whole process, got my license, and went, full guns a-blazing. But did realize that there's certain aspects of it that maybe didn't necessarily fit my, personality or my skill sets. I think I was blinded by the fact that, hey, this is going to be my own business. and kind of let that be the reason that I got into it more so than, well, what does it really look like?
Yeah, right.
Definitely still something that I'm interested in, something that I've kept up on as far as, the market and, things like that. And definitely not closing that door for sure. Something that still sparks my interest, something that I still feel like there's a way for me to be in that realm.
Yep.
Maybe with using the skill sets that I feel like I do have to be successful in it. Whether it's, we've talked about working together, and whether it's finding clients and referring them to realtors I trust like yourself. And I could definitely see that being and something that I would love to dive back into.
Sure. Oh, definitely. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you got a lot of different irons in the fire, right? And but I'm super excited about your future. You know what I'm saying? You're dabbling with real estate still. Now you got this podcast, so I think the future is bright for us and anybody who goes down this path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would encourage anyone that does have that entrepreneurial spirit to definitely look into real estate, because it could be something that you'd really, really enjoy and be successful at.
Totally.
And we got to do this more often. I got to have you back for sure. Talking real estate.
Nothing better than real estate and sports, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, no, we'll definitely have to have you back and keep up. Just a way to keep up with the market and things like that. And it's something that people are interested, whether they're looking at necessarily buying right now or selling their home right now. I think that is something that a lot of people are interested in and are looking for a resource to learn more about it.
I mean, I think everybody wants to get involved in real estate in some aspect.
Right.
And I mean, it's more than just buying and selling. I mean, I have some rental properties.
Okay.
So I mean, there's a lot of different ways to dabble in real estate. If you have any questions, and it doesn't just have to be about buying or selling real estate with us. If you have any real estate questions, whatever it is, maybe getting your license or, a rental property, or what does it look like to flip a house? Reach out to myself, or, you've learned a lot too.
Yep.
So inquire, ask questions.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Ryan.
Yep.
Such an honor to have you here today. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a ton of fun going down memory lane and then also talking real estate. Again, definitely have to have you back to continue to talk about this stuff. Before I let you go, I like to end the podcast asking my guests a couple of questions. The first question I have for you, because a lot of our connection is basketball, and I know you're a big basketball guy. I would love to know your 5 favorite basketball players of all time. I've asked some other guests of mine that exact same question who are basketball guys, and I always want to make sure I do make it clear that these players do not have to be NBA players.
Yeah.
So, 5 favorite basketball players.
5 favorite. So, my favorite basketball player, who I believe to be the greatest basketball player of all time, is LeBron James.
Oh, no. I envision a podcast coming up where we debate that. But anyway, that's for another time.
Yeah. No, Michael Jordan's number 2.
Sure.
So I have this debate with a lot of people, and I probably will have some debates with people who are listening to this in the future, and I look forward to that.
Yes.
It's a great conversation. So a little bit of credibility is that I grew up watching Michael Jordan,
right,
and have also watched LeBron James, right?
Right.
What I found is that, most of the people our age love Jordan, right? And it's Jordan no matter what. And then it's the younger generation who likes LeBron James,
sure,
right? I've seen both, and I've looked at a lot of statistics, And it's just a fun debate because it's not clearly black and white. And I know that you'll disagree with me, right? I know he's got 6 championships and all that type of stuff, right? But when you just look at, the absolute statistics, and LeBron is not done with his career yet, right? And he's about to pass Kareem here in a couple weeks. I think he's 86 points away from passing Kareem.
Right.
So I mean, obviously that helps, right? I mean, it's a record that's been standing since the 80s. So I get fired up about this, right? But LeBron's my guy, and Jordan's it's close, and they're just honestly very different players. You really shouldn't compare the two,
right?
But people obviously are going to.
Okay, and I love to debate this stuff. I love to debate things.
Yeah. Yep.
But again, that all right. We got another topic for a podcast coming up.
Yeah. But I look forward to the debates.
Like you mentioned, though, it's not black and white. It's super hard to really know. And that's why I phrase the question as favorite rather than best.
Right.
Because it's so hard to – it's going to start a debate. And I would love to debate that, and we will do that. But the reason that I phrase the question to my guests as favorite is because there's no debating that. I love the debate. There's a time and place for debating. But that's why I stick to, at least with these questions at the end of the podcast, as
I know.
Favorite.
We could probably get into a deep debate about this. Is Jordan your favorite? So you think he's the best?
I think he's the best.
Okay.
I do.
Right.
Yeah, I do. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah. A different time.
Another time. Stay tuned. So keep your eye on the Attack the Rack podcast for the next time Ryan Kruitoff joins the program for a phenomenal debate. Jordan versus
I have so many people reaching out to me wanting to debate this. I'll never get anything else done.
Well, I've seen some of your posts lately, and it makes my skin crawl when you're posting about LeBron. But anyway.
Dude, LeBron is the greatest Swiss Army knife of all time. If you're going to start a team, you're going to want to start it with LeBron. I mean, right? Dude, he just is number 5 all-time assists. Now, do you see that?
He probably is.
Yeah. So, anyways, I get passionate about this. So, number 3 is Wilt Chamberlain.
Okay.
Never saw him play.
Yep.
But arguably, one of the most dominant big men of all time.
Yes.
And then number 4 would be Larry Bird, right?
Yeah.
He terrific scorer.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about Larry Bird? You think of that guy as one of the best shooters of all time, which he definitely was.
Yes.
But just from the 80s and early 90s when he played to today,
he was dominant.
The game has changed so much that most people would 100% agree one of the best shooters of all time. But he
was well-rounded.
But on the list of 3 points made, he is like 180th or something like that.
Is he? Okay.
There's guys ahead of him that you haven't even heard of.
Right.
Just because of how the game is played now.
Totally,
he's probably shooting maybe 3 or 4 threes in a game. When you look
today,
at Steph Curry,
he
he's shooting 3 or 4 threes in half a quarter.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. I just find that interesting.
Yeah, no, Larry was way more than just a shooter. I think he was league MVP, 3 times in a row.
Oh, he was a phenomenal passer, phenomenal rebounder, phenomenal defender, huge IQ guy.
Yeah.
But again, like most well known for his shooting ability, and it's just crazy how much the game has changed when you look at a guy like him, where again ranks near 200.
Right. Statistically, yeah. But he was a leader. I mean, he had the eye of the tiger.
Yeah.
Like Jordan did.
And similar to this, the highest scoring game in NBA history, I believe, was in 1984. Denver Nuggets, Detroit Pistons.
Good old Pistons.
Now, it did go into an overtime or two, but the final score was like 180-something to 180-something.
Okay.
There was 4 3-pointers attempted in the entire game. I mean,
that's so wild.
It is wild.
And there wasn't even a 3-point line for years, right?
There wasn't. I mean, at this point there was, but there used to not be a 3-point line. That's like you talk about Pete Maravich. I've heard some crazy stats about him. He played without the 3-point line, yet a majority of his shots were what would be 3-pointers today. And you could add like 1,000 points to his career totals in college, or average 44 points a game in college.
Yeah,
without a 3-point line.
His college record will never be broken.
Unreal, without a 3-point line.
Yeah.
All right.
He's one of my favorite movies, but yeah, Pistol Pete.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So got off on a tangent there. Fifth.
Yeah, the fifth. Yeah. So this one isn't an actual basketball player, but I've given a shout out to my dad.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and maybe you interview my dad someday.
Yeah.
Because dude, this is a crazy story, but the Holland Police Department played the Detroit Lions at the Civic Center.
No way.
Back in like the 80s.
Okay.
Right. And these guys were just like, they were just kind of the scrub players.
Yeah. And
my dad went out and recruited like Matt Neal.
Okay.
And a bunch of other great players.
Yep.
And they got, my dad will tell you the story.
Well, hold on. First, explain why your dad was involved.
My dad was a cop for years.
Yes,
and he was the police chief.
Yes.
And you probably should interview him. He's got some great stories
I
too.
bet
But they ended up playing the Lions, and he can tell you the story. He can tell you how the result was. But
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
So my dad just he just influenced my.
Sure.
He was such an encourager.
Sure.
And he was so supportive of my basketball career.
Yeah, I bet.
And it's cool because out of all the memorabilia that I have, got a lot of neat stuff, is I have a basketball actually signed by my dad that I have that I value. So
sure.
Yeah, my dad's top 5.
Okay, nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So
all right. So hey, next question. Speaking of basketball, 5 favorite and like I always mention this to my guests. It might be tough to come up with 5, but 3 to 5 of your favorite basketball movies.
Yep. Blue Chips.
Phenomenal.
With Shaq.
That's on my list. I don't think that's been mentioned yet, and I don't know why. I love that movie.
Well, we were young, I think, when it came out. There's been so many good ones since then, but Blue Chips, one of my favorite ones. White men can't jump.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Classic.
And I disagree. Some white guys can jump. Right. So, Coach Carter, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yep.
Great one. Pistol Pete Maravich, the pistol.
Yes.
The story. I just remember watching that as a kid and then going out and then dribbling the ball around and stuff.
That's how I learned to spin the ball on my finger, that film.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You can spin the ball on the finger?
Sure can.
Good for you. You got to show me that.
Yeah.
and then Adam Sandler, he did the new one, The Hustle. Oh, thought it was cool. Just
great movie. I just watched it. Yeah.
So I mean, there's been a lot of sport ones, and but yeah, I would say it's my top 5.
Yeah, great list. Oh no, great list. All right, one final bonus question I like to ask the guests that's more specific to you and some of your interests outside of basketball. You're a car guy. You like cars.
Yeah. Yep.
5 of your favorite cars.
5 favorite cars. I would say Porsche. I always had a Porsche poster next to my Michael Jordan on the wall. So and that was kind of fun. That's kind of a bucket list thing. I was able to buy an older Porsche a year ago with one of my buddies. So Porsche 911. And then I have a couple Lexus. I love that brand. They're super dependable. And then, I don't know, maybe Ferrari someday, right?
Sure,
like an old school one. It'd be kind of fun to get.
Yeah.
Just something exotic outside of maybe the Porsche. But yeah. So I think I've had like 40 different cars since I was 16.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, love cars. So
nice. Awesome. All right. Well, hey, again, thank you so much for joining the program. This has been a ton of fun and very much looking forward to having you back.
Fun conversations, Kurt.